Basically, right there.
Oh, no problem whatsoever. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. You can have a seat right there if you like.
Right on. Thanks for agreeing to talk to me.
Yeah, you bet.
I don't expect it should take too long.
Are you going to be in here?
Yes, I'm
Okay. Super. Yeah, I've got a store meeting at 2 o'clock. But anyway, so that's a dealio. Let me see that. How does that work?
It's not
I tried to
too
shake
I have a
hands.
microphone.
Denise,
Yeah.
I tried to shake hands.
He wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't
Doing
do
the
it.
elbow bump.
Doing the chicken wing.
I'm actually kind of hoping it'll stay a thing, after all
Yeah.
this is over. I'm starting to kind of like it.
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, we're just going from business to business. I spent a lot of time yesterday talking to restaurant owners who've been real particularly affected by the new policies that are closing everything but takeout and delivery. I understand it's probably a pretty dramatically different situation running a grocery store. So I was just kind of wondering what sort of changes y'all might have experienced since the sort of COVID-19 panic has set in.
Well, we've experienced obviously a lot of additional unplanned for business.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, being a independently owned and local type of operation, we can respond to that and react accordingly. So, like with our orders and stuff, we're actually physically making those orders and making those decisions. We're not reliant on metrics and algorithms, and so what you see in other stores where there's nothing there, we're not in that situation because we're boots on the ground, looking at the shelf, thinking
terrific.
about what we need and what we need to order.
That's terrific.
Now, that being said, there will be a disruption of the flow of things. Some items are put on allocation, and we've made the decision to limit some things, not because we want to keep them, but we want to make sure that everybody is taken care of.
That's wonderful.
And so you take a family that has a child on formula, we've decided that we need to limit that to make sure that everybody's baby gets fed and somebody isn't sitting on 5 cases of formula and somebody else's baby is starving.
That's great.
And so that's decisions that we've had to make on the fly. We have changed and ramped up a lot of our sanitation processes, so we're going to be cleaning floors a lot more often than we normally do, and using disinfectant type things to do that. And of course, wiping things down, and we've always had the cart wipes, because that's always been an issue regardless of coronavirus or not. So that's something that we've done, is we're just emphasizing that more, emphasizing it at the check stands that they need to be wiping things down. We'll be implementing other things, and as this progresses, as it opens up and we get more information, then we'll respond to that quickly. Okay. And we're able to do that, so that's pretty much where we're at with that. With regard to manufacturers and what's taking place in the manufacturing world, companies like Procter & Gamble and Kraft have made decisions, as we have too, but they've made decisions that they are going to reduce the product line, because every time you change the product then you have downtime. You got to change the presses, so to speak, change the labels out, change the product identity and whatnot. So what they're doing with that is they're saying, okay, Procter & Gamble has 217 or 287 or something.
217.
217 different products, and they are going to pull down to 5.
Oh, wow.
So there's going to be 5 types of Charmin,
Okay.
and there's going to be 5 types of Bounty, and that is it. And so each subcategory of their categories, they're going to minimize that. That way they can keep the pipeline full.
It'll just streamline the process.
Streamlining the process, exactly.
Very
And
good.
so Kraft is going to be doing that. So instead of having 11 different kinds of cheese, they're going to have 5.
Okay.
Okay?
Same
And
for
so-
all the cheese lovers out there, but.
Yes, they'll still get their cheese, but maybe not their cheese.
Okay.
And really I think it's quite phenomenal. I think it's kind of exciting to see everybody pull this together and have a plan as quickly as we've all done that.
I agree.
For example, baby formula, it looks like that we're going to be, and again, I'll just say it this way, explaining the pipeline situation a little bit is, it's not that we have a shortage of food or a shortage of availability for food, it's that the pipeline got emptied. because there was a normal run of how everything worked, and when that got disrupted by the consumer, and they went out and bought, that puts stress on that pipeline all the way back to the manufacturer. So that pipeline's kind of been emptied. And now what we're gonna need to do is the manufacturers are ramping up, and then they'll start filling that pipeline, and then it's gonna take just a little bit, and there will be some allocation of different items, but then we should be back, in good standing.
Very good.
And of course, with our cooperative, which is Affiliated Foods, we're working very diligently at the warehouse level to not be in a situation where we're not able to provide for our stores. So I was in calls yesterday, a couple of different phone calls about how we were going to do this, what we're actually going to do to mitigate any outages or anything like that. And I think we're in a position of being fairly well stocked. Everybody needs to be patient because there will be that thing or this thing that is maybe not in right now, but we're keeping the ball rolling.
Just keep checking back if
Right.
what you're looking for isn't there.
Right.
Okay, terrific. One of the things that I've been hearing around the town is that there's maybe been some folks from out of state, even as far as Nebraska, coming in and
Yes.
stocking up. Is there anything that you guys are thinking about doing to try to mitigate that, or is there only so much that's possible without kind of creating a sweeping policy that would affect locals as well?
Yeah, really what we've done is we've just looked at the items that we know we have a concern for, and we're limiting those. We will have, and we continue to have a lot of variety and a lot of product, and our warehouse has lots of product. So it's not going to be a food shortage just where, like somewhere like in Russia where there's just no food available for, this is going to be an ongoing process. But we're not in a situation where it's a food crisis.
Okay.
It might be a type or a special brand, cheese with jalapeno might not be there, but it's not, nobody's going to go hungry.
That's terrific to hear. So in light of some of the sort of restrictions on group sizes that they're implementing, does that have any sort of effect on supermarkets, which are an essential business that will be remaining open indefinitely throughout this crisis, however bad it gets?
Well, they're just telling people to stay, 6 feet apart.
Okay.
And, we're doing the best we can with that.
Yeah, the main thing is, and that's one reason why at this point, we are not reducing hours, because the more hours that a customer has to go, the less people they're going to encounter during that time period. So
Sure.
we don't want to impose things like that on people.
Sure.
We want to keep it as wide as we can, and as long as we can see our way clear to do that. I mean, it could change, but we're thinking about maximizing the window that people can come in. And there again, keeping that social distances and stuff like that. We've talked about putting tape on the floor just to help remind people to stay away from each other a little bit. So it's check stands, we may implement that. In fact, that's one of the discussions we had today, was thinking about implementing something like that. We're really hoping that people will be kind and considerate to one another, thoughtful, and realize that we're all working through this thing together. So one of the nice things about being in a smaller community is you do know most everybody,
Yeah.
and it is, we're all in this together,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Much harder to turn on your neighbor when you've known your neighbor for 30 years, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The ones I'm truly concerned about are the deer in town, because they may be supper for somebody.
Yeah.
No.
I've thought about that, I don't know that we're at that point yet, but 2 weeks down the road, we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, you answered, most of the questions that I had right there already. I guess my last question would just be if there's anything in particular that you would like to let the community know, just sort of in general regarding the store or regarding this whole crisis altogether. Is there any sort of message that you would like to put together? We're all trying to present this kind of solidarity and to come together. As a
Well,
community.
what we're doing is we're going to do everything that we can to provide. We are going to 24-hour day receiving so that we don't bottleneck our deliveries. So if the warehouse sends out a truck and it shows up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna be there at 2:00 in the morning to unload that truck. It's not gonna sit there and wait 5 hours for the store to open. We're gonna get it unloaded and get it on the way so it can get to somebody else's community, and we can keep going. So we've opened that up, and then as far as the community goes, we're in this together, and we wanna be, and have always wanted to be a part of the community, and that just keeps getting better and better every year.
I figured that'd be the case. That's why I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
As far as WIC goes, women, infants, and children, they are adjusting their allocations. So let's say your WIC inventory says that you can get large eggs. They're allowing substitutions to where you can get the medium eggs. So if we're out of the large, you can get the medium. As long as it's in the WIC file, they're going to let people adjust those orders accordingly.
Okay.
Which is very handy, because it may not be, if you can't get wheat bread, they may let you have whatever bread that we have, that as long as it's in their file as a substitution.
That makes sense.
Another thing that we have is we have the benefit of owning our own dairy and owning our own bread company.
That's wonderful.
So we have reduced our breads down to 3 options. We've reduced our milks down to half gallons and gallons only, but we are cranking out the bread to the tune of 100,000 loaves a day.
Wow.
And so we should not be in a situation that compromises somebody's hunger.
That's true.
Because we're bringing it in. Food stamps are going to be 100% at capacity starting April 1st. Children that were on the programs are they're receiving an additional $30. Is that a week, month, or how does that work?
The food stamps for children that would get the free meals at school, there's talk, and I believe it's already passed, that they're going to add $30 to a food stamp program so they can get the food at the stores, and to compensate for that. Some stuff, I know for sure that's federal, so that would be, that's implemented.
That's great. That's one of the big concerns that I know RE1 is really particularly kind of trying to confront right now. Levita has an anonymous donor who's able to help out with the food insecurity front, but I know there's a food drive that's being put on by the SECY right now, and if there was any concern about the supermarket not being supplied, then that'd be another issue, but it sounds like we're in good hands. Yeah,
we shouldn't, nobody's going to go hungry. From what we can see and the reaction that we're getting at a corporate or as an affiliated foods warehouse, we're taking every step and every action that we possibly can to make sure that we can continue to provide, and changing policies and changing the way we do things and receiving trucks. In fact, at the warehouse, there was always receiving from midnight until 8 a.m. And that's when they received, and then they would disperse. Well, we got rid of that. If a truck's there, we're not making them wait.
Okay.
Get it done here and get it unloaded.
Right on.
And so we can get it out to the stores.
So is there any sort of need for more hands on deck at the moment, or are you well staffed?
At this point, we're well staffed, and it's just a matter of just taking the opportunity to get it out on the shelf. We're not really changing any of those things too much.
Very good.
Is there anything else we need to add to that?
We're just probably going to be hiring 1 or 2 more people on that.
Yeah, probably 1 or 2 more people, just to to make sure, and to deal with the additional business, and then also to the what if factor, if somebody is not feeling well, stay home.
Sure.
Yeah, and so that way we can have a little bit more depth in our field of people.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely.
When all this blows over, I'll come back and shake your hands.
Well, that may be, and I should say to you too, this whole situation is probably going to be another 13 to 14 weeks of this, as far as within the realm of grocery stores and food supplies and all that stuff. I think that, and people have to realize that because of the manufacturers trying to produce more, there will be less variety. And that's not something that we're doing, that's just something that we are going to have to all live with. And I think the ramifications of this happening, and then the response to it, it's not gonna be normal for probably a year or more. Because things, once they get changed and once they get rolling, it's not so easy to come back to.
Sure.
You know, to
Pipeline
whatever
fills
they're
slowly.
doing. Yeah, and so that's
So
gonna
the
be.
variety's it's gonna take about a year to get the variety back in the stores after all this is over.
Yeah. But anyway,
You know, as far as tightening our belts goes, having to miss the jalapeno infused cheese is, pretty low price to pay. So
yeah,
really, really glad to hear that. Thank you guys.
all right, cool. Well, good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you guys
Okay.
very, very much.
You bet, and I will not shake your hand.
All right. Next
I
one.
will open the door.
Thank you, sir.
I will not shake your hand.
Okay. Take care.
All right.